Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 5 replays in the independent Era 1 Japanese tech tree medium tank, the STB-1 69. Absolute giggity. And if you did like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the STB-1 in Cold War, in Era 1, it is the end of Era 1 for this new Japanese tech tree that's come in. What's it like as a tank? Well, so far as I've played it, it's okay. It's alright. It's just an alright tank. It can be a little bit awkward because of the siege mode, but as a difference compared to the World War II version of the STB-1, the siege mode on this vehicle is manual. So you have to activate the siege mode by pressing left on the D-pad. You press left on the D-pad, you will get better gun depression. You'll get it down to 12 degrees of gun depression. You'll also get better accuracy, aim time, and all that good shenanigans as well. And to be honest with you, this gun, outside of the siege mode, is really not very nice. You put it in the siege mode, the gun becomes glorious, to be perfectly honest. It becomes very, very nice. So when you're in that fighting capacity, in a situation like you're seeing right here, you want to be activating that siege mode so that the gun is absolutely fabulous, because you'll notice how bad the gun is without it. But it does make it awkward in certain situations, and especially on a fight when you have to get moving, because you do have that little bit of downtime to deactivate the siege mode. You might see that in this replay where it gets a bit awkward when you get rushed. So, we are completely stock in these first 2 replays, and with this tank we have a 53 km/h top speed, with a 20 km/h reverse speed, 750 horsepower engine, which is 19.88 horsepower per ton ratio. Now, that doesn't change when you get fully upgraded, because you have the same engine. So that is your top speed, and that is your mobility. The mobility on the vehicle is pretty nice. If you were to put a traction system on, you would go at 58 km/h quite easily. You've got 47.96 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, with ground resistances that don't hold the tank back whatsoever. 515 meters of view range, again, good enough to spot for yourself. 41.35 degrees a second on the turret traverse, is slower than the tracks with the build that I run, so be careful of that turret does turn slower. 0.96 accuracy during rotation, with a 1.9 accuracy during movement, is really not that great, and means the aim circle becomes rather large very quickly on turning the tank and moving in general, and can just be a little bit frustrating for the STB-1. And you do have a 2.12 second aim time, which means it takes a wee while to aim in as well. Like I say, if you press left on the D-pad, it doesn't say anywhere what the stats are, but the gun handling and the aim time does get better when you go into this manual siege mode, so it's something to just keep note of. And you do have 0.3 accuracy at 100 meters though, which is fairly accurate for the old vehicle. And like I say, you've got 12 degrees of gun depression when you're in that siege mode, which means you can use ridge lines quite effectively in this tank. I think it's only 6 degrees of gun depression without that siege mode. And you saw that first game, we ended up with 4,009 damage, 242 assistance, and thankfully the team managed to carry us through to the victory. But that was just a little indication of the tank while it was stock, and also that little bit of awkwardness that we were doing okay when we were on the ridge line, but the moment that we weren't helped by the heavy tanks that were sat behind us because they were too busy shooting the other side, we just ended up getting rushed, and the tank, when it does get rushed, struggles because you don't have mobility, and it's a bit awkward being in that siege mode. But yeah, we've got that 0.3 accuracy at 100 meters, which, like I say, is pretty accurate. And that is the thing, it just takes a wee while to get it aimed in, and it gets even more accurate when you do switch to the siege mode. You got 6.49 second reload, which is 3.6k DPM, which is pretty damn nice for the STB-1. It's a very good DPM for it, with 258 penetration on the standard APDS rounds, 330 heat pen, which is great. We'll go through most of the vehicles that you're going to see in Era 1. I mean, realistically, the only tank that you truly need those for is the IS-4 to guarantee the pens. For the most part, 258 is enough to go through most of the other tanks. I don't carry any heat rounds because I run the ammo swapper, and I use the thing that is beautiful about this vehicle, which is similar to a lot of the medium tanks in Era 1 at the top era, and that is 210 pen on the HE. 210 pen for 480 damage on this HE is beautiful, and it just ups your DPM massively. And in a situation like you saw in the last game, you can dish out damage so quickly against vehicles because you've got that higher alpha, and the HE starts racking up module damage pretty quickly as well. You want to use and abuse that HE as much as you can because it does turn the tide of a battle very quickly. And obviously having 210 pen, that means you can pen most vehicles again with that pretty easily. And that's why I use the ammo swapper for that, because, yeah, You saw the gun handling there, by the way, outside of the siege mode. Eesh, it likes a good miss, this gun, when it's not in the siege mode. We got 390 alpha on the standard, 480 on the HE, with 1,478 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APDS rounds, 1,173 meters a second shell velocity on the premium heat round, and 760 meters a second shell velocity on the HE round. So if you do load the HE rounds, you do have to bear in mind that, yeah, it's very slow on that shell velocity. You'll have to give a lot more lead than the standard APDS round, and it will feel just a little bit more derpy in terms of its handling because of how slow the shell velocity is. So be very careful of that. I can see that most people probably won't use that HE round because they won't really know where to pen things or what targets to use it against. So you're probably running something like the traction system to go faster, or vents to make everything about the vehicle better. It's down to you. But if you know where and when you're going to use those HE rounds, you want to run that ammo swapper for doing stuff like that against the T95E3, against the SU-15, well, the SU-122-54, sorry, is what it was, and the TVP that you've seen as farm up with some of the HE rounds, because your damage just fly up with it. So what do I run in terms of recruit and equipment on this vehicle? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, with the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, and the Ammo Swapper. Ammo Swapper, like I say, to make the most of those HE rounds for shots like that. The Gun Stabilizer to make sure that the accuracy during movement and rotation is as good as possible, so I can try and make the aim circle bloom as small as possible so I can get the shots out quicker. With the Advanced Loader to make the best out of the DPM, which is very, very good. The general crew of making all the gun handling better with all the gun perks, the clutch braking and the rapid aim, just to make the whole general feel of the tank just that little bit better. And it's just generally a jack-of-all-trades crew. It makes the gun handling as good as it possibly humanly can be. It makes the track traverse as good as possible, and the turret traverse as good as possible as well. It's just my general Cold War MBT crew. But like I say, there's plenty of ways you can run the vehicle. You could definitely drop the ammo swapper to run the traction system. It's down to you and how you want to play this tank, honestly. There's no right or wrong way to set up a vehicle. It's always down to how you feel confident in a tank. So, that second game, while stock, you saw us end with the defeat, sadly, there on Ardennes. Sad, sad time. Finished with the 3 kills, 5.2k damage, the 745 base XP on a loss. And it is what it is. You saw the good and the bad of the vehicle there, to be honest, again, where sometimes when you get rushed, it doesn't go very well. But you activate the siege mode, your gun handling becomes very, very nice, and you can snap shots really, really easily as well. You can use the HESH to glorious effect, or the HE, to glorious effect, get really high damage rolls off of it, and you can really farm up. But the moment you, because you are a support tank, the moment you start to get pressured, that's where death occurs. And, well, yeah, death is not going to be a great time for you. The other thing you saw is that we got set on fire, and shots to the rear generally do set you on fire. It's a painful time. And the other thing that does happen a lot with this tank, and it can be a bit irritating, is that you do tend to lose your ammo rack quite a bit. If you get shot through the tracks, your ammo rack just generally, yeah, gets damaged, and then you have worse DPM, which is one of the strengths of the vehicle. So when you lose that DPM, pure pain, really, for the STB-1. But we're on to the third replay, and we're here now. We are fully upgraded in the STB-1. So what's changed? Well, we've got a slightly better power-to-weight ratio. We've gone up to 20.15 horsepower per ton, so the mobility's got a little bit better, but nothing much is... It's just generally due to the weight change, really, of getting the upgraded modules. You've got 50.14 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, so it does turn way quicker now. It's, what, 3 degrees faster than it was when it was stock. Ground resistances have got even better, so what didn't hold you back before really doesn't hold you back now. With a 543 meters of view range now fully upgraded, which is very, very nice. The 41.35 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is similar as it was before. You've now got 0.78 accuracy during rotation instead of 0.9, so the accuracy during, so the aim circle during rotation has got better, which is lovely. 1.59 accuracy during movement now as well, which is a lot better than it was too, which means after movement, your aim circle really doesn't become anywhere near as big as it did when you were stock. So you will feel the naturally better gun handling outside of that siege mode in this tank when you are fully upgraded, which is pretty good for the STB-1. 1.93 second aim time as well means it does aim in quicker as well, which is very good for it. You got 6.34 second reload, which is still the 3.689 DPM. It's only gone up the tiniest bit, if that. So, yeah, there's there's not a great deal of change in the STB-1 from stock to fully upgraded, as is the case generally with the Cold War vehicles. A lot of the time, there's very little difference between being stock and fully upgraded. It's just minor differences, and you will feel the changes when you do get fully upgraded in the STB-1, because it is that accuracy during movement and rotation stat, as well as the fact that you got 0.28 accuracy instead of 0.3. So the general gun handling, you will feel that bit of difference, and it is more to do with how big that aim circle becomes when you've been moving and when you've been stationary and stuff like that. So this third replay, while we are here stock? No, fully upgraded. We'll get there in the end. When we were fully upgraded, we are trying to get up behind the IS-4M. The moment we've got into the position we want to be in, we've gone straight to that siege mode. Why? Because, well, we're not going to be pressured here that much. And by switching to the siege mode, we will have that better gun depression, that better aim time, and that better accuracy. And as you can see, it is absolutely pinpoint when you are in the siege mode, which is why you want to use it. Left on the D-pad will activate it. It doesn't take very long to activate, and you're always ready to go. Now, something you've got to be careful with the STB-1 is you don't really have any armor, which is why you're a support tank. So if you end up sticking over on a ridgeline with your turret facing towards the enemy, of course you might ricochet a shot here and there, because angles on the turret do exist, and it is a very well-angled turret. But generally, with the penetration of a lot of the vehicles in Era 1, especially the top Era vehicles that you're more likely to be matched against, they're just going to go straight through the turret every single time. And so that is something you really do have to be careful of. So we're just trying to farm up the enemy team as they're progressing into the middle. We take two big hits there from the T95 and from the M48. We put a Hesh round through the T95E3 there, and he moves into the center of the map. So I switch out of that siege mode. I'm going to swivel round to then try and get into a better position to go fight the enemy team. So I was going to go towards where that T44 was, but they know I was over here, so I don't really want to go that way, because they might just be ready for me to just charge them. So instead, I'm going to go try and get into a position to help this heavy tank out, because they seem to be struggling with the 3 tanks that are currently facing them, as they would. They're outnumbered. So if we can try and change this engagement, win this fight with this IS-4M, that is what we're going to do. Once again, we switch to the siege mode, get as good as possible on the gun handling as we can, wait for that T95E3 to put around the corner, and we got a shot through the lower plate there with the APDS. Now we're going to load the HE. I know I can take a hit from this E3, so we put around the corner, put the HE in for 446, put him down to a one-shot, and the IS-4M finishes him off. The 4005's around the corner. I decide, screw it, we're going to chance it, and thankfully the RBRT works, and we finish off the 4005, and we don't get to take 183mm of pain this game. So we'll take that, because no one wants 183mm of pain. So we finish the game with 2 kills, 5.6k damage, 721 assistance, the second class, the sniper medal for 1499 base XP. Pretty nice game there for the fully upgraded STB-169 on the Ardennes map. Contrast to the previous game where it just went pretty badly and we lost, sad times. But now we're on to the 4th replay of this video, and this one we are on this map, which is Chowbang. And on Chowbang, what I'm going to do is go to a position that's good, but also fairly dangerous, especially in Era 1, and in Era 2 and Era 3, to be fair, because ATGMs exist. Good, because we can get early shots into the enemy vehicles as they progress up the JK line, like shooting at that guy, like shooting that guy, and oh, the guy that we saw a minute ago progress it, there he is as well, that Type 773, the Leopard, essentially. We can get early shots at these guys. Why is this position dangerous? Well, this position is dangerous because 4005s exist, and if they're hiding in the corner at K7 and they've set themselves up right, we will never spot that guy until they blap us. And if they blap us, we're probably going to be dead, because 183mm of pain is painful. It's in the name, people, it's in the name. So you saw a little bit of a problem with siege mode right there in the fact that the gun bobbled when we took the shot at the M47 pattern, so the shot hit the turret instead of the flat side. It's something that you will have with the STB-1, and especially with most of the siege mode as well. And that's because when I'm aiming over the front of the tank, it's not too bad, the bobble, and that's because of the way the suspension is. But the moment I start to look over the sides and over the tracks, that's where the suspension becomes a little bit awkward and starts to bobble. because what the game is doing is auto-adjusting the siege mode, and it's auto-adjusting the suspension. So when I'm looking over the right-hand side or the left-hand side, and I'm properly looking over the tracks, the suspension is moving with it, which can be that little bit frustrating because of the fact that the gun just starts to go whee, and yeah, it's a bit annoying, to be honest. But that's what makes siege mode tanks awkward. The more experience and the more you play the siege mode tanks, the less you really get bothered by it, and the less you well, it's basically the more you get used to it, and you get used to the nuances of how and where that turret on suspension will bobble. And you do get used to it. Like, at this point, I'm fairly used to it. It can still catch you out and be a bit annoying, but you do get used to it. It's like shooting this 4005 there. If you're not used to the suspension, they might have... If someone was playing this tank for the first time, they might have poked over that ridge and insta-fired, but because of the suspension, their gun bobbles up. Whereas I've got the experience of knowing, okay, I'm poking over, wait for it to go, doop, there we go, fire, right? And that's what we're doing here with the SU-122-54 as well. We're just waiting for the suspension to go, yes, I will let you shoot now. And these HE rounds are also coming in clutch with that 210 pen, because we're doing some significant damage to people like the SU. You've got to, again, know when and where you're going to be using the different shell types, because I could have fired HE at that SU-122-54 there, but I went with the APDS instead, because I have to hit the exact point for the HE to pen and not just do splash damage. So I switched to the APDS because that was more likely to pen in that situation. But yeah, so you just got to get used to the way that these sieges work. And to be honest, it's something that you will have to get used to, because this siege mode is on every single tank for the rest of the line. So yeah, it's something you will have to get used to. Well, most of the tanks all the way of the line. Can't remember if... I know it's on one of the Era 3s. I don't know if it's on both. I've not got there yet. I'm currently on the Type 74 as of doing this video. But there we go. The first Type 74, seeing as there is 3. Just putting it out there. The Era 2 grind is a bit boring, honestly, because there's 3 of the same tank. But hey-ho, hey-ho! We're on about the STB-1! So, the STA-3 is trying to get shots at us. The 4005 is something that is in my brain. Never forget about the 4005. Because the 4005 won't forget about you. And you'll know about it. So we put a HE round there into the STA-3. Again, insta-switch into the HE because we knew we could get a shot into the STA-3 and do a bigger amount of damage. This is one of the reasons that I don't carry the heat rounds, to be honest, because the heat rounds will be useful, but I won't use them as often as I will the HE. So the ability to just switch between 2 rounds is why we do it, pretty much. But we're up to 6.2k damage with 654 assistance damage. The type... or the STA-3, sorry, has pulled back. The Type 773 in front of us is staying hidden behind the rock, and he's just poking out at the wrong moments. We're not quite ready for him every time he does it. Still keeping my eye out on the 4005 again, because, you know, you don't want to take that shell. We switch back to the normal travel mode. Why? There's a heavy tank towards our base at B2, and there's still quite a few vehicles left. We know where 3 of them are, because there's the guy that's at H8. We know where the Type 773 was, and the STA-3 that was down at K5. So that's 3 of the remaining 6 tanks that we know where they are. And then 4, if you count, the IS-4M that's up at B2. Where's the other 2? Well, I figured the other 2 will probably be charging towards our base to help this IS-4M out. So what we're going to do is go back to defend this base if we can, because we want to be able to win this game and not get capped out, as happens a decent amount. So we're going to get ourselves into position to try and shoot this IS-4M. So there's the IS-4M. He's a one-shot. We've got his side. That's the gun handling right there when you're not in the siege mode. It derps quite often. We fully aim the shot. It derps into the floor. That's the gun outside of the siege mode. Outside of the siege mode, the gun is so derpy. It is so irritating. And right there were 2 opportunities to get the kill shot on that guy. But because of the way the gun handle is outside of the siege mode, it said, absolutely not, I'm going to miss. So we're trying to move into a better position to have a great shot on this side. We put a shot towards him, but I think the destructible covering the logs actually took the shell, and the 4005 shuts down that IS-4M, and there's only 1 tank left on the enemy team. It was the Type 773, and he gets finished off. And again, with that replay, you saw the good and the bad of the vehicle. When you're in the siege mode, the gun is pretty damn nice. Occasionally, it still does miss because RNG. But when you're outside of the siege mode, yeah, the gun just loves missing. And we finished that game with the 1501 base XP, 6.2k damage to the 2nd class. Pretty good game, realistically, for the STB-1 there. But yeah, you just saw the good and the bad of the vehicle, realistically, in that game. And like I say, with the mobility of the vehicle, 53 kilometers an hour is good enough. You'll get about the battlefield easily enough to be able to use your DPM, get yourselves into those ridgeline positions to go and use the good gun depression you do get with the siege mode, and use the good gun handling and DPM to support the enemy, well, to support your allies as they push the enemies in. You don't really want to be the focal point of people's attention because, it's, like I say, it does go badly pretty quickly in the STB-1 if you become the focus of people's attention. And then if you can switch between the APDS rounds and the HE rounds, oh, it can go gloriously. And that's what's going to happen with this game, which is always a great time. So we get a snapshot into the SHAR 40T there, switch to the HESH rounds, get into the siege mode, so we get the better gun handling and the gun depression here to get shots into him. And there we go, 2 rounds into him. He's now down to a 1-shot. We are just trying to hopefully get the kill shot in, and we shut down the SHAR 40T there with a nice shot through his turret, which is always a great tank to get rid of because that tank is phenomenal in this game, on this era 1, right? Because it's just a great tank. So there's no... I was thinking about going down where the light tank is at F5, but there's no one in the middle. In this middle area, there is absolutely no one from our team, so I don't know what's there, and I didn't want to go into that position because I felt like I'd get rushed quite easily. So we're coming into a better position to go see what is actually here. We get a shot through the back of the AMX-38. Now, I could have shot HE there, but I actually felt like the better shell velocity was going to help us out against that AMX-38, purely because of the tight timing that we had of him going between the buildings. So we get a shot through the T95E3 side turret. We've got the Type 61B in front of us. Switch to HE because, yet again, we're going to pen that nearly every time with HE. Put a shot in for 477, and we're just maximising our DPM against this guy by firing the HE. I switched to the APDS rounds because he gave me his side. Then we switched back to the HE, and then I switched back to the APDS rounds because, again, it was just going to be awkward firing HE at him. And then we finish him off with that APDS round. Again, it's all about knowing when and where you're going to be shooting people. So shooting the T54 with HE could be quite good, which is why we're switching to it now. But the first shot could have been a bit awkward. Unfortunately, the shot went high and hit the turret, which meant we only did 203 damage. Now his side is facing us. There's no point firing the HE because there's quite a lot of the time the HE will hit the side of that vehicle, hit the tracks, and just detonate like it does when it hits spaced armor. Which is why I say you've really got to choose... well, pick and choose exactly when you're going to be shooting that round. We get a shot through the side of the T54, putting him down to a 1-shot. The T95E3 is still the ire of my attention currently. We try and put the HE shell through the cupola because we can pen that cupola with HE, but because it's a little bit derpier, it did fly over the top. We come over with our good gun depression, fire an APDS round at that cupola on the T95E3, and sadly, it just said no. The T54 did get a shot at us, but thankfully only damaged the gun. So with our team starting to push in around both flanks, we're going to push into the centre as well to try and get rid of these guys. Just run distraction and use our good DPM to our effect to win the game. We're up to 5.6k damage with 106 assistance. HE round switch to RBRT straight into the STA3, finish him off. We might not have killed him there without the HE round, so glorious scenes. Put the HE round through the upper plate of the T95E3 for 485. He's still angling better against us now, so I decided to switch to the APDS rounds because at that sort of angle my HE round was less likely to pen, so I just made sure I was going to pen him with the APDS round, and then we put the second shell in to finish him off, putting us up to 7.2k damage with 106 assistance, the 4 kills. A really great game there for the STB-1 69, and we finished the epic victory, 4 kills, 7.2k damage, like I say. Great game for the STB-1 69, which, like I say, is a pretty okay tank. It's not one that I absolutely loved playing, but did I think it was terrible? No, it's fully capable of having a good game. It can just be awkward with that siege mode. You have to get used to the nuances of the siege mode, get used to using the HE rounds and where you can use those, and then using the APDS rounds alongside them, and you'll have a great time with the STB-1, but there's a lot to learn while playing this vehicle. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!